Imagine a treatment that was created to heal your skin, but instead it leaves you burned, blistered, and in a lot of pain. This is the horror story, how a light therapy turned into my biggest eczema regret. Are you one of the few? This is the channel for you. My name is Victoria, and I make eczema-related skincare content. Today, with the fall and the spookiness, I figured I would tell you guys a little horror story. I don't like horror stories, actually, and sadly, this is a real life one that I had to live through. Also, I'm not a doctor, okay? So take it with a grain of salt, but always do your research, please, and thank you. So let's just rewind a little bit. I got my notes here, so it's trying to balance things out, but let's just rewind, okay? What is light therapy? Basically, it's medical treatment that's controlled by UV light, and it's used to help people with skin issues, psoriasis, even acne and eczema. It reduces inflammation in the skin, and to be fair, it actually can work. It's recommended for people that have chronic skin conditions, kind of where nothing else is working, then they put you to this. It can be expensive if you don't have coverage. I live in Canada, green hearts below if you live in Canada. So it was covered. Major caveats here, okay? I don't know the year. A couple of years ago, let's just say. I was kind of in what I like to call the healing trap. I actually did a video on that. And it's kind of where your skin is just in such a bad place that you're just so desperate. You're obsessed. You'll try every and anything to just fix your skin. And in the video, I kind of talk about how it kind of shoots yourself in the foot because you're just almost hyper focused, and that's not the mindset you need for healing. But I was chasing every possible way to bring healing to my skin, and light therapy was suggested to me. I thought, okay, like, why not? It doesn't hurt, and it was going to be covered by OHIP, so I was very, very hopeful. My first session, you walk into this like tall, it looks like a sun tanning bed, but a stand-up one, right? You step in for like 3 seconds, all the lights come on, like, and then they come off, and it's done. Obviously you can take off your clothes. I think I was able to still wear my short, I wore like a tank top, pants, I believe, yeah. But my arms, my neck, and my face and my hands were exposed because those were my places that really needed the help. You just stand in there, boom, you come out, and to be honest, I didn't notice anything, I didn't feel anything. It was just life as usual. But I did notice, let's say, that night that my itch went down. Like, I wasn't as itchy as usual. And at that point in my life, I was not in topical steroid withdrawal or anything. I was just dealing with my eczema, right? So I was just a regular itchy, but enough itchy that I didn't want to be itchy anymore. How many times can we say itchy? That was that. Then I would say 2 weeks later, I went back for my second treatment, and it was even better. My inflammation now was coming down. My skin was calmer. I was like, wow, we have found it. I was sleeping better at night. I hadn't noticed any other differences to my skin, but like I was doing well. Like, I was really, really happy with this treatment, and I was excited because it was steroid free. It felt more natural because I wasn't actually putting a product on my skin, and I'm really pro natural things, but I also understand that sometimes you need to marry it with medication because sometimes just the natural stuff just isn't enough depending on how severe your eczema was. I needed something pretty much at a medical grade, but I just didn't want to use the medication. This is where things went wrong. On my third session, each time they increase the time incrementally. Oh, if they have a chart or a guide or however they figure it out, but they have to increase the time so you can get more results. And they increased my time a few seconds long. And I want to say, even by milliseconds, this light is so strong that it can impact your skin. You wouldn't think that a few seconds would make such a difference, but it did. Not at that moment though. At that moment, I just felt like I was in for a second or two longer. I didn't feel like burned, I didn't feel anything. I just felt normal until I woke up the next morning. As you guys know, I'm a melanated lady, so I don't typically burn, I didn't know what a sunburn even felt like. The last time I was sunburned, I was a kid. That's not a normal practice for me. So I woke up and I felt sore, very sore. And then I started to feel like little bumps kind of coming up, especially around my neck. And as the day progressed, those bumps and welts turned into sores and blisters. Like, I got it on my hands. I basically was getting it where my eczema was the worst. And my thought process is the places that I used topical steroid throughout my life mostly were my neck and my hand. I think my skin in those areas is already significantly thinner. So my body this didn't happen to. However, as the days went on, I noticed my skin was getting darker and darker, and it was so painful, like raw to touch. Then eventually the blisters started to like pop and ooze, and it was just, so I looked it up. Can light therapy burn you? Can you get burned from light therapy? And absolutely, yes, you can, okay? So my skin was sore, welts formed, blisters, my body felt like it was literally on fire from the inside out. I immediately went back to my doctor, okay? But instead of acknowledging that they made a mistake, no. They tried to pass it off as something else, and that's the moment I really realized that I made a huge mistake in doing light therapy, because the consequences of using light therapy were costed me for a long time. Like, the aftermath was crazy. My complexion had basically developed a permanent tan from UV damage. Even to this day, I'm still a few shades darker than what I typically would be. It took months, like literally months, for the skin on my neck to heal properly. And the worst part is that now my skin is unbelievably sensitive to the sunlight. What was supposed to like help my skin left me dealing with basically permanent UV damage. At the time, I was hoping that this would really help heal my hand eczema. I had to build like a whole eczema survival kit to deal with my skin. You can check out that video where I talk about different ways that I've learned to deal with my hand eczema, because there's no way I was going to do the light therapy ever again. It's just emotionally draining. You think you're going to do something that's going to help, and then it shoots you in the foot. When you have eczema, you're already on an emotional roller coaster. So the eczema itself is uncomfortable. Like, we don't need to add a burn to the mix. My lessons in moving forward: would I ever do light therapy again? What do you guys think? What do you think? Absolutely not, okay? But if you do, my advice is to keep the exposure as low as possible. Never let them extend your time without questioning it. If, for example, I did 2 sessions and my skin was improving, I didn't need to increase the sessions, if we're honest. I was doing great. What you don't know. But if I were to go back, I would really emphasize the fact that you can burn, and I don't want to burn. I would also emphasize the fact that, especially if you've used steroid creams in the past, that my skin is already more sensitive because I've used steroid creams. So I need to move at a slower pace. You have to remember, a lot of these dermatologists, they don't really acknowledge the side effects of medication. Yes, they'll say it thins the skin, but I almost feel like they weren't really thinking about that. Okay, her skin, even though I had been off steroids for a long period of time, like, steroid creams can permanently damage the skin. So I don't think they were really thinking like that. They might have been looking at the rest of my body and thinking, oh, she's gonna be fine. You have to educate the educator. I personally wouldn't do it again. I will say it did work while it worked. I don't want to play with that. I don't, the permanent tan thing, no thank you. And because of what happened, I now have to take my sun protection way more seriously. This is the first summer actually that I was a little bit more open to sun exposure and getting a tan. I went to the beach a lot, but I was constantly re-upping my sunscreen. If you guys didn't know, you need to apply that every 2 hours, not a one and done. And if you go in the water, you have to reapply. So the whole experience really taught me something important, in that, when you are desperate to heal your skin, you will try any and everything. And I don't think I study things through and through. I didn't do enough study or research. That backfired on me. And you might say, like, Vic, that's not your fault. you know, they should have informed you that. But nowadays, I take that onus on me. I make sure that I know, at least I would have liked to know that this was a possibility. I didn't know it was a possibility that they could burn me. I didn't know that it was a possibility that I'd have like blisters all over my neck for like a month and a half. Very uncomfortable. Like I want to say it was whatever burn it is, 2nd degree, 3rd degree burn, like the burn that you have blisters, like that's pretty severe, very painful. I had to like wear scarves, you know, you're embarrassed, all right, like come on. I digress. It's all good now. Fast forward many years, my neck has healed up. If you're interested in some of the other ways that I have managed my skin, you can check out some of my videos. No warrior should ever battle alone, okay? So subscribe, join the few, be a part of our community. Until next time, later guys.